All right, today what we're going to do is we're going to continue with chapter 10, and we're looking more at, we graphed quadratic functions, we solved quadratic functions by graphing, and we're going to start using our algebra. And so you're going to start seeing the algebra magic take place, all right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this. In the past, when we solved this quadratic equation, what did we do? What was the first step? Yes? Okay, I could add 5 to both sides, but I'm actually going to subtract 4, and the reason why is standard form.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's all right. So I am going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I end up with z squared minus 9 equals 0. And remember, that was that standard form stuff. Okay? So now I got done with that, what am I going to do? I'm going to take my a, which is 1. It's the number in front of z squared. My b, which is, careful. No, it's not negative 9. It is 0. And some of you made that mistake on your quiz yesterday. Do you see a z term by itself? No. And so my b is 0. And my c is negative 9, because remember, the c term is one that does not have a variable. Okay? So now what am I going to do?
You do z equals negative?
Z equals negative what? Okay, z just happens to be the variable of the function. I am finding the vertex, but it's the x of the vertex. So I am still going to go x equals negative b over 2a. Because I'm finding the x of the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to go negative 0 over 2 times 1. Remember doing that? Okay, so I end up with 0 over 2, which is 0. What did I just find? The x of my vertex. Okay, so now what?
Well, the y is 0.
I need to find the y, right? Okay, so I am going to
Plug it in.
plug it in, plug it in. Okay. Y equals z squared minus 9. Y equals 0 squared minus 9.
But if we just have x.
Yeah, you can plug in, I get what you're saying. This really is, you can say z if you want to. Okay, so y equals 0 minus 9. Y gives me negative 9. So I just found the what? The y of my vertex. So my vertex is 0, comma 9. Make sure you put it as an ordered pair. Some of you didn't do that on your quiz yesterday. That's something kind of important to do. Okay, and then my axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Okay. Now, does it ask me to label the vertex on my graph? It does not, but this information is really important if I'm going to graph it. Okay? So now what do you guys want to do? Okay, I'm going to do my H table. You can go X or you can go Z. Either one it's fine because it's your input. It kind of depends on what you want to do. You get what I'm saying? This right here can either be X or Z. It doesn't really matter. It's Z in the equation, so you can do it. But it is the X of your vertex. So I'm going to plug in 0 over here, and I'm going to plug in 9 over here, and I'm going to say that's my vertex. Now what? Then what? 0. So one number bigger would be 1. One number smaller would be going too fast, what should you do? Raise your hand and say, whoa, lady, slow down, right? Are there any questions on this? Are we okay? Okay, this should be old. We did this. We've done this. It's like redundant. We do it all the time. Okay, now, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Good.
This is an excellent thing because these two numbers match. We've talked about that before. All right, so now I'm going to come down and I'm going to start graphing this. So it's 0, -9. And I've got 1, 8, 1, -8. -1, -8. Am I done? Why not?
You gotta find where it makes that.
That's correct. I have to see where this parabola crosses the x-axis. Will it cross?
Yeah.
Yes. How many places? 2, because my vertex isn't on the x-axis, and it doesn't open down, it opens up. Okay? So what do I do?
Find where it becomes 0.
Right, I need to find where x becomes 0. So I'm going to extend my table here. And I am looking for a value where this is 0. What do you think it's going to be? You know, in the algebra, you can kind of see that it's going to be 3. So y equals 3 squared minus 9. Y equals 9 minus 9. And oh my heavens, look at that. We got our 0, didn't we? Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and I'm going to graph it here. And remember, in the past, we had the axis of symmetry. And that was right here, wasn't it? Now, how far is that pink dot from the axis of symmetry? 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go 3 the other way. And I can make it a little bit bigger to make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, do you see how this is 3 away? So I'm going to make this 3 away. Do you see that? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pen. And I'm going to make my parabola. Now make sure it's kind of U-shaped. We don't want a V. That's a different type of equation. You do not have to put the other ordered pair on the H table. You could if it's a high stakes test. You might want to just to double check, like an ACT, but you do not need to because you know what it is. So what is the solution then to this?
So that's like the 0.
That's my zeros, yeah. So what's one ordered pair? Okay, -3, 0, and what's the other one? 3, 0. And that's my solution. And I've got 2 of them, right? And remember, I can have 2 solutions. I can have 1 solution, or I could have no solution. That is correct. All right, good. So this is kind of what we did in the past, right? We had to graph this thing. We had to find out where across the x-axis. It was loads of fun, wasn't it? I enjoyed it thoroughly, okay? Well, let me tell you something. We can do something a little bit different. Rather than solving a quadratic equation using graphing, we're going to use algebra, okay? And what we're going to do is try to get that z by itself. Do you see it there? Okay, so how do I get z by itself? What's one thing that I could do? I'm going to add 5. All right, and then I get z squared equals 9. And then how do I get that 2 off of the z? I'm going to square root both sides. And z equals, okay, it's 3, and I'm going to tell you it's plus minus 3, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? The reason why it's positive 3 is because, and I'm just showing you off to the side why this works. 3 times 3 gives me 9, doesn't it? And negative 3 times negative 3, does that also equal 9? It does. So when you square root a number, technically there's 2 answers there. Okay? So my solution then is 3, 0, and negative 3. You are 0. That's my solution. I didn't have to graph it. Ta-da! Trick!
Why didn't you tell us?
I get that every year. Why didn't you tell us this first? Why do we have to do all that other stuff? It took forever, and it was dumb. And why did we have to do it? Okay? If you didn't realize what was going on, you wouldn't value this. If you didn't see all the work that went into those types of problems, this would have no meaning like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Okay? Another reason why is if we did this, would you really understand that this is where the parabola crosses the x-axis? You really wouldn't understand it. I would just tell you and you'd go whatever and then you'd forget it. Okay? You actually can see the parabola in your head and what's going on by doing this now. Okay? So yeah, that's why I did it. Okay? Let's go on to this next one. We're going to have some different cases now. What do I do on this one? I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. R squared equals negative 3. Now what do I do? I'm going to square root both sides. R gives me, use your calculator, Alex. What does it give you?
6.
It says what on our calculator? Error. Should I write error on this? No. Okay? No, we don't write error. Okay, we have to be smarter than this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go like this. How many solutions are there? None. This is a no solution. And what's going on with the parabola?
It'll never cross that.
Exactly. It'll never cross the x-axis. So the vertex could be up above the x-axis and the parabola go up, or the vertex could go up below the x-axis and go down. Do you see how you can visualize that now? Because you've graphed it. Otherwise, this would have had no meaning. Okay? All right, let's keep going. I've got this one. What do I do here? I'm going to divide by 25. A lot of kids will want to subtract here. Notice what operation is between the 25 and the k squared. Multiplication. To undo it, I divide. Now, don't get like calculator happy. Okay, just breathe for a minute. I get k squared equals 9 over 25. Yes? Okay, square root both sides. K equals plus minus. Now, what's the square root of 9? 3. What's the square root of 25? 5, and you're done. A lot of kids will want to immediately grab that calculator. Because 9 and 25 are perfect squares, you technically don't need it. You can do it without. Okay? So how many solutions? 2 solutions. And it's 3/5, 0, and negative 3/5, 0. Okay? Notice that the y is always 0. Okay, because some students were like, well, why did you put 3/5 as x? Why didn't you put that as y? Because remember, for it to cross the x-axis, the y has to be 0. Okay? All right, now notice, and this is key, that they have no b in the equation. You see that? Notice that at the bottom. There's no b. That's key, because you cannot do this easy stuff when there's a b. You have to do something else. Okay, and you're going to learn that another day. All right, let's keep going. Notice this says solve and round the solutions to the nearest hundredth. So we're getting a little bit harder, a little bit fancier here. Okay, and we're using our algebra. So what do I do first? I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Very good. And I get 4x squared equals 20. Then I x squared equals 5. And then I square root x equals plus minus. This is where your calculator comes in, and this is why on your test I'm going to ask you to please bring your calculator, because if you don't, you can't do this. Okay? And you're not going to leave it as just the square root of 20 or 5, because it's asking you to come up with a decimal. So you're going to go second, and then you're going to hit that square root button, and you're going to put in 5, and I got 2.2 what? 4. It is 4 because I round. The number next to that is a bigger than 5. Okay, so this is my answer. And if you wanted to put it in ordered pairs, you can, because there's 2 of them. It's 2.24 and 0, and negative 2.24 and 0. And we use this in geometry, guys. We use this. So it's really important you know how to do it. Are there questions on this one? All right, let's go to the next one. How would I go about solving this one?
Add 7.
I'm going to add 7. 2x squared gives me 16. Now what? Divide by 2, yeah, because I want to get that x by itself. So x squared equals 8. Now what? Square root both sides. Make sure that you show that, and notice it's plus minus. Excellent, 8, 3. Yes, and there's 2 solutions there. Okay, and if you want to, you can write it as an ordered pair. Just because I think when you do that, it like brings it to life a little bit more. That is where the parabola crosses the x-axis and there are 2 solutions. All right, now this one's a little bit different. We're going to do these 2 and then we're going to be done. It's a little bit more complicated, okay? What do you think you could do? Okay, a lot of kids say distribute. I'm going to tell you no. Why do you think it would be no? See the exponent? See that little 2 right here as an exponent? That's getting in your way. You cannot distribute when that's there, okay? So I need to get rid of the 3. What's another option that I could do? Divide by 3. Yeah, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And I get m minus 4 in parentheses squared equals 4. Okay? Now what do? I got to take care of the exponent. I can't add 4. And I'm not going to distribute the 2, am I? Because remember, that's like, we did that before. Remember when we had m minus 4 squared? Remember we had m minus 4 times m minus 4? And remember how we had to do the boxes and we needed to multiply? This is actually m squared minus 8m plus 16. Remember how we did that? Okay, so I can't just distribute that. So what we're going to do, delete that, because we can't do that. What we're x squared by, I'm going to square root both sides. And I can do that. Okay. So then what I get is m minus 4 equals plus minus 2. We okay? All right, now this is where this kind of splits off. I've got two problems here. One of them is m minus 4 equals 2. And the other one is m minus 4 equals negative 2. We okay? Yes? No? Okay, this is kind of heavy duty algebra. This is not for the lighter part. We all right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 4 on the left-hand side equation. So m gives me 6. I'm going to add 4 to the other side of the equation and I get 2. So m is 6 and m is 2. What did I just find? The coordinates. Where the coordinates of where the parabola crosses the x-axis. That's correct. And students lose sight on that. So this is 6, 0 and 2, 0. This is where the parabola crosses the x-axis. And so what that parabola does is it kind of shifts all over the place. We okay? Now you're going to see it both ways. Sometimes you're going to see m equals 6, m equals 2. Sometimes you're going to see them as ordered pairs. You need to be able to see it both ways. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to let you kind of try to figure it out yourself. I don't care if you get it wrong or not. I just want you to try for a minute. I see a lot of you doing a great job. You're not scared of that decimal at all. You notice you're getting a decimal, aren't you? That's good. All right. Let's take a look at this. What is the first thing that you guys tried? Yes?
Divided by 4.
I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. And so I get a minus 3 in parentheses squared equals 8. Okay? And then what would I do? I'm going to square root. Okay? Square root both sides. Okay? A minus 3 equals, now this is where you can have some trouble. It's plus minus the square root of 8. Now some of you went ahead and you did your decimal there, and that was fine. You definitely can do that. You gotta be a little careful though when you're rounding, because some people like to just chop the sucker off right away. You need to be careful with that, especially if you're doing some multiplication. Okay? So this is how I tend to handle this. And again, it's kind of a personal preference. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna split it off. And okay, and I'm going to go a minus 3 equals the square root of 8. And I'm going to go a minus 3 equals negative the square root of 8. Notice that the negative is outside the radical, so we're doing okay. Some people like to cut it off earlier before that. It's kind of up to you. Okay, so I'm going to add 3 to each side, right? A equals the square root of 8. and then the plus 3 is on the other side.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Can't you just do the square root of 8 and then add this one?
You can. Some people like to do it right away. I tend to wait. I don't really care. I don't like to do the square root of 8 till the very end. I just don't, especially when it's like geometry and I'm doing base times height, because kids will chop off too early and then it'll skew the entire answer. So it's kind of up to you. You can definitely put your decimal in. Okay? If I do that, I take the square root of 8 and I add 3, and A equals, I have 5.83. Okay? And then the other one, I'm going to add 3. A equals negative the square root of 8, and then the minus 3 comes, or I'm sorry, the plus 3 goes way off to the side. Don't put it underneath the radical if you do, because it'll be wrong. Right? And then A equals negative the square root of 8. Notice the negative's on the outside, and then I'm going to add 3, and I end up with 0.17. Is that what you guys got?
Yep.
Good, excellent. Now, how would you like to graph that?
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, you would never find that answer, would you? You never would, and that's the power of algebra. You technically would have one heck of a time trying to find where that crossed the x-axis. And that's why we study algebra, because it will find that, okay? And then there's purpose. You use these numbers later on as you get higher up into algebra. Okay? Are there any questions? All right, that's all I have for you today, and then we'll go ahead and get started on our assignment.